The Silent Talon's assault. When humans get angry, the universe trembles. The Crone raiding fleet charged their weapons and pointed them towards Earth. Little did they know their presence had been detected long before their arrival. Below, on the pale blue planet, a sleeping giant had awakened, rallied, and now lay in wait. And they were very, very angry. The bridge of the Crone flagship, Silent Talon, hummed with activity as Commander XX studied the tactical display. The image of Earth and its moon hovered before him. Though this inferior species possessed crude technology by galactic standards, taking the planet would not be easy. Crone intelligence had grossly underestimated human resistance. Now, hundreds of stealth warships and orbital defense platforms surrounded Earth and Luna. XX's mandibles clicked in irritation. No matter. The Crone fleet outnumbered and outgunned the humans 3-1, and his soldiers were bred for conquest, stronger, faster, and more savage than these pink apes could ever hope to match in close-quarters combat. The order was given to advance. Plasma cannons charged and ready. At 20,000 kilometers out, the Crone fleet slowed and unfurled into attack formation. Yet something seemed amiss. The human warships had not moved from their positions guarding Earth and the Moon. They showed no sign of aggression or fear. Were they immobilized by terror in the face of the massive Crone force? Perhaps they hoped to beg for mercy. No, thought XX uneasily. Human communication had made it clear that surrender was not an option. They were planning something, but what? A trap? Some new secret superweapon? Alarm klaxons blared. "Commander, multiple FTL signatures detected," shouted his sensor officer. Six looked at his display in confusion and horror as hundreds more human vessels suddenly blinked into existence on all sides, totally encircling the Crone. The ships were sleek and bristling with gun ports, but they had not been there a moment before. A chilling realization dawned on XX. The humans had mastered faster-than-light teleportation technology. Now, the Crone fleet was cut off from escape and surrounded. The hunter had become the prey. All ships ready main batteries. Target the flagship and fire on my command. Came the human admiral's orders over the communication channel. XX looked on helplessly as thousands of rail guns and plasma batteries swiveled to point directly at the heart of his fleet. Perhaps we should not have enraged the humans after all. XIX fought grimly as the human ships unleashed hell upon them. The opening salvo from the human fleet tore through the unprepared Crone ships like tissue paper, destroying dozens of cruisers and frigates instantly. Klaxons wailed on the Silent Talon as explosions cascaded across the flagship's hull from direct rail gun hits. Sykes gripped his command chair as the bridge pitched and tossed under the withering bombardment. "Return fire," he bellowed. "Target their flagship and largest vessels first." Crone plasma cannons and torpedoes streaked towards the massed human fleet, only to be intercepted by defensive laser grids and rail gun point defense systems. Only a few scattered shots connected, melting armor plating but failing to penetrate the human heavy shielding. It soon became clear the Crone were totally outmatched. XX watched in dismay as one Crone heavy cruiser after another blinked out of existence on his tactical display, shredded by the humans' overwhelming firepower. How had the humans built so many advanced warships right under the Crone snouts? Their last intelligence reports showed the humans to be fractured and technologically inferior. Yet they had somehow unlocked technologies thought to be decades away even for the powerful Crone scientific caste. The Silent Talon shuddered again as a barrage of missiles detonated against its shields. Cracks spiderwebbed across the bridge viewport. They couldn't take much more of this pounding. "All ships, focus fire on the human flagship," ordered XX desperately. "We must." His words were cut off as a railgun slug punched straight through the bridge hull. Atmosphere vented in a split second, sucking XX and his bridge crew out into the frozen void. The magnetic rounds continued punching through the cruiser's interior compartments, bursting fuel lines and munitions magazines. The Silent Talon erupted into a series of fiery detonations. On the human flagship Valiant, Admiral Harris watched grimly as escape pods and crone bodies streamed away from the dying ships. Less than 5 minutes into the battle, the alien fleet was already coming apart at the seams. "This is almost too easy," he thought. "Shall we pursue and finish them off, Admiral?" his XO asked. "Negative. Let them run back to Croya with their tails between their legs," Harris replied. "Our message today was clear. Humanity will not tolerate unprovoked attacks on our worlds." As the last smoldering crone wrecks faded off his display, Harris opened a channel to Earth. "Mission accomplished," he reported. "The incursion has been repelled." Cheers erupted across all channels from the lunar bases and defense platforms. On Earth below, humanity celebrated their victory and marveled at the quantum leap in their technological prowess. The crone had poked a sleeping dragon and would not soon forget the consequences. Humanity's awakening. After their crushing victory over the crone incursion, a mood of triumph and celebration swept across human-controlled space. News of the battle spread like wildfire, and billions watched rebroadcasts of the crone fleet being ripped to shreds. Humanity had faced its first true interstellar trial, and passed with flying colors. However, in the corridors of power, there was a somber reckoning of the new reality humanity found itself in. They were no longer isolated and technologically inferior. Unlocking the quantum wormhole drive had catapulted them overnight into the big leagues, but also painted a target on their heads. Humanity needed to expand its defenses, and quickly. Construction soon commenced on more orbital shipyards, defensive platforms, and rapid manufacturing centers on Mars and the Moon. A new wave of wormhole-capable warships began rolling off the assembly lines, bristling with exotic metals and advanced weapon systems. Admiral Harris stood looking out the viewport of the new Orion-class dreadnought Dominion, one of the first of its kind. At 15 kilometers long, it boasted enough firepower to slag a small moon. He was to take command of the first long-range battle group tasked with patrolling and securing human colonies out to 50 light-years from Earth. "Admiral, we've received an update from Croya," reported his XO, Commander Lewis. "The aliens have increased their military presence around the storm zone bordering our space. Several battle fleets are moving to reinforce their outposts." Harris nodded grimly. The vast interstellar nebula storm, known as the Tempest Cloud, marked the current border between human and crone space. It had long been deemed impassable until the advent of the quantum drives. Skirmishes seemed inevitable. "They're testing our resolve," Harris replied. "Probing to see if we've overextended ourselves after our recent technology leap. Have they made any aggressive moves?" "Not yet. Their ships have stayed on their side of the storm zone." "Then neither will we make the first move or show any weakness," said Harris. "Dispatch a carrier group and 2 destroyer squadrons to patrol our side of the border. Priority mission is reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Under no circumstances are they to cross the storm zone or take offensive action. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir," Lewis replied, heading off to relay the orders. Despite his even tone, Harris felt the weight of humanity's future resting on his shoulders. Millions of lives now depended on the long-range battle groups and orbital defenses to keep their colonies safe. It was a grave responsibility, but one he bore willingly. The crone may have numbers and experience, but humanity had innovation, grit, and righteous anger on their side. Harris silently vowed the crones would come to rue the day they'd crossed swords with mankind. The next weeks were tense, but no clashes occurred as both sides continued to build up forces on the border. Harris was uneasy with the crones' unusual restraint. Were they plotting something? The answer came during a high-level briefing at Fleet Command. "We've detected concentrated ship movements within one of the larger crone colonies bordering the storm zone," reported the intelligence officer. "Long-range imaging shows them assembling what looks like an invasion fleet near the planet's moon. Over 200 capital ships so far and more arriving daily." Murmurs of alarm rippled through the briefing room. A hologram of the moon flickered to life, showing mile-long crone troop carriers and bristling battlecruisers gathered menacingly in orbit. That moon houses one of their major fleet academies and rallying points, rumbled Admiral Nevis. It appears they are preparing for a major offensive. But amassing such a force will leave their central colonies weakened and exposed, said Admiral Locke, confusion evident on her face. They'd be incredibly vulnerable to counterattack. Harris nodded slowly as he studied the augmented reality display of the Crone fleet, a plan crystallizing in his mind. Not if they mean to strike quick and hard at our core worlds before we have time to respond. The implications sank in among the gathered brass and government officials. Croya was gambling everything on one knockout blow deep into human space. How the hell do they plan to actually reach our central colony so quickly? Said Nevis. Even with quantum drives, no ship can cross the storm zone without being ripped apart. The Orion's sensor logs from the first battle may have the answer, said Harris gravely. Our analysis shows the Crone ships had unusually robust quantum shielding, likely reinforced against the nebula's radiation and gravitic shears. It's possible they've developed a way to navigate the storms safely. They're coming straight for Earth, said President Kumari. We have to intercept them before they get within striking range. Heads nodded around the room. The stakes had never been higher. Admiral Harris, you'll take the Dominion and the 7th and 9th fleets to launch a preemptive strike. Kumari ordered. Engage and destroy the Crone invasion force before they can breach the storm zone. Harris saluted sharply. It will be done, Madam President. As he boarded the Dominion for what would be humanity's greatest battle, Harris felt a fierce pride and determination. Mankind would not bend to alien conquerors. The Crone were about to learn just how formidable an enemy they had awakened. The Tempest Reckoning. Admiral Harris stood on the bridge of the Dominion, surveying the gathered fleet through the massive viewport. Hundreds of warships, from nimble frigates to towering dreadnoughts, hovered in formation, their hulls gleaming with advanced alloys. The combined might of the 7th and 9th fleets, humanity's finest, was ready for the imminent showdown. Admiral, all ships report ready for departure, Commander Lewis reported. Very well, Harris replied. Set course for the storm zone. Engage quantum drives on my mark. As the order rippled through the fleet, Harris felt the familiar hum of the quantum engines powering up. The Dominion, along with its escorting vessels, began to shimmer as space around them distorted. Mark. In a flash, the human fleet vanished, leaving behind only the afterimages of their departure. Within moments, they reappeared at the edge of the Tempest Cloud, the swirling nebula of ionized gas and turbulent gravitational eddies that separated human space from the Crone Empire. Status report, Harris ordered. All systems green, Admiral. The fleet is holding steady, Lewis confirmed. Good. Begin long-range scans and deploy reconnaissance drones. I want eyes on that Crone fleet. Drones shot out from the Dominion, zipping into the storm zone. Their enhanced sensors and quantum communications relayed real-time data back to the human fleet. Harris watched the holo-display as it began to populate with information. Admiral, we've got contact, the sensor officer announced. Multiple Crone vessels detected. They're maintaining a tight formation near the moon of their rallying point. Harris studied the tactical display. The Crone fleet was indeed massive, but their formation was rigid and predictable, a testament to their overconfidence. Commander Lewis signaled the fleet to prepare for battle. We'll use the storm to our advantage and hit them where they least expect it. The fleet began to advance, navigating the hazardous terrain of the storm zone with practiced precision. Harris knew the storm's chaotic environment would disrupt sensors and communications, providing the perfect cover for their approach. As they closed in on the Crone fleet, Harris gave the order to engage stealth systems. The human ships faded into near invisibility, their signatures masked by advanced cloaking technologies. Hold position here, Harris commanded. We wait for the right moment. Minutes felt like hours as the human fleet hovered in the storm, just outside the Crone sensor range. Finally, the Crone fleet began to move, preparing to enter the storm zone themselves. Now, Harris said quietly. The human fleet surged forward, breaking through the storm's turbulence in a coordinated assault. Rail guns and plasma cannons opened fire, catching the Krone by surprise. The first wave of human projectiles tore through the Krone vanguard, turning ships into fireballs. "Target their command ships and carriers," Harris ordered. "Cut off their leadership and reinforcements." The Dominion's main batteries unleashed a barrage of railgun slugs and plasma bolts, each shot finding its mark. Krone ships exploded in brilliant flashes, their debris scattering into the storm. The battle quickly devolved into a chaotic melee, with human and Krone ships weaving through the storm's violent eddies, trading blows at close range. Despite their initial surprise, the Krone responded with brutal efficiency. Plasma beams and missile swarms from their ships lit up the nebula, striking several human vessels. But the humans fought with unmatched tenacity, their superior tactics and technology turning the tide. "Admiral, enemy flagship identified," Commander Lewis reported, highlighting the massive Krone dreadnought on the display. "Concentrate all fire on that ship," Harris commanded. "We take it down, and the rest will crumble." The Dominion and several other heavy cruisers focused their firepower on the Krone flagship. Shield emitters overloaded and hull plating melted under the sustained assault. The Krone dreadnought's return fire was fierce but unfocused, a sign of their faltering command structure. In a final, desperate move, the Krone flagship launched its remaining fighters and attempted to ram the Dominion. Harris watched the massive vessel hurtle towards them, its hull glowing from internal explosions. "Evasive maneuvers. All power to forward shields," he shouted. The Dominion veered sharply, but the Krone ship still clipped its port side, sending shudders through the hull. The impact was devastating for the Krone flagship, which broke apart in a series of catastrophic explosions. As the Krone flagship disintegrated, the remaining enemy vessels faltered. Without central command, they became disorganized and vulnerable. Human ships moved in, picking them off one by one. "Admiral, the Krone fleet is retreating," Lewis reported. "They're falling back through the storm zone." Harris nodded, watching the remnants of the Krone fleet limp away. "Let them go. We've made our point." Cheers erupted across the bridge and echoed through the fleet. The Krone invasion had been decisively repelled, their fleet decimated. Humanity had not only defended its home, but also delivered a resounding message. They were a force to be reckoned with. The dawn of a new era. The Krone, meanwhile, licked their wounds and reevaluated their strategy. The defeat had been a humbling experience, one that shook their confidence. In the halls of Krone High Command, discussions of vengeance gave way to a grudging respect for the humans' tenacity and ingenuity. They realized that any future engagement would require more than brute force. It would demand cunning and adaptation. Back on Earth, the victory over the Krone invasion was celebrated with fervor. News of the triumph spread across the globe, uniting humanity in a shared sense of pride and accomplishment. But in the halls of power, the leaders of the United Earth government knew that this was only the beginning. In a secure chamber deep within Fleet Command, President Kumari and her top advisors, including Admiral Harris, gathered to discuss the future. "We've dealt the Krone a significant blow," Kumari began, "but they will undoubtedly regroup and seek revenge. We must be prepared for the next wave." Harris nodded. "Our fleet's performance was exemplary, but we can't rest on our laurels. We need to expand our shipbuilding capabilities and develop new technologies to stay ahead of the Krone." "What about alliances?" asked Secretary of State Helena Zhao. "There are other species in the galaxy that might be willing to join forces against the Krone." "An excellent point," Kumari agreed. "We should reach out to potential allies. The Krone's aggression is a threat to all free civilizations." The meeting continued late into the night, plans and strategies forming to ensure humanity's continued survival and dominance. As they adjourned, Harris lingered, looking out over the bustling Fleet Command headquarters. "Admiral," Kumari said, approaching him, "you've done more than just win a battle. You've given humanity hope and a vision of what we can achieve." "Thank you, Madam President," Harris replied. "But the real credit goes to the brave men and women of our fleets. They fought with everything they had." Kumari nodded. "Indeed, and we must honor their sacrifice by ensuring our future is secure. The galaxy is a dangerous place, but we've proven we can stand our ground." In the weeks that followed, humanity's efforts to fortify their defenses and expand their influence accelerated. New shipyards sprang up on Mars and Luna, while research facilities on Earth and beyond worked tirelessly to develop cutting-edge technologies. The search for allies bore fruit as well, with several minor species expressing interest in forming a coalition against the Crone. The Crone, meanwhile, licked their wounds and reevaluated their strategy. The defeat had been a humbling experience, one that shook their confidence. In the halls of Crone High Command, discussions of vengeance gave way to a grudging respect for the humans' tenacity and ingenuity. They realized that any future engagement would require more than brute force. It would demand cunning and adaptation. As the galaxy watched, the stage was set for a new era. The balance of power had shifted, and humanity stood at the forefront of the change. They were no longer the underdogs, no longer a species to be underestimated. They were a force to be reckoned with, a beacon of defiance and resilience in a vast, unforgiving universe. And so, with their enemies regrouping and their allies rallying, humanity prepared for the challenges ahead. The fight for survival was far from over, but they had proven they could not only endure but thrive. The silent Talon had struck, but it had been met with a roar that echoed across the stars. In the depths of space, on the bridge of the Dominion, Admiral Harris looked out at the endless expanse. The stars shimmered with possibilities, each one a reminder of the vast unknowns yet to be explored. With a steely resolve, he knew that humanity's journey had only just begun, and whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, stronger and more united than ever before. Shadows and alliances. The Dominion glided through the calm of space, the crew busy with repairs and recalibrations after the intense battle. Admiral Harris stood on the bridge, his mind racing with thoughts of the future. The victory had been significant, but the galaxy was still fraught with dangers. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Fleet Command," Commander Lewis announced. "Put it through," Harris replied. President Kumari's face appeared on the main screen, her expression serious. "Admiral Harris, we have an urgent matter to discuss. A delegation from the Taldari Consortium has requested a meeting. They wish to discuss a potential alliance." Harris raised an eyebrow. The Taldari Consortium was known for their advanced technology and strategic acumen. An alliance with them could be a game-changer. When and where? "They're en route to Earth. We'll meet them at the Fleet Command headquarters in 3 days," Kumari said. "Your presence is requested, Admiral. Your experience and insight will be invaluable." "I'll be there, Madam President. Dominion out." As the screen went dark, Harris turned to Lewis. "Prepare the ship for departure. We're heading back to Earth." 3 days later, Harris arrived at Fleet Command headquarters. The massive structure, located deep within the Rocky Mountains, was abuzz with activity. As he walked through the corridors, he passed engineers, scientists, and soldiers, all working tirelessly to strengthen humanity's defenses. In the central conference room, President Kumari, Secretary Zhao, and other key officials waited. The Taldari delegation, led by Ambassador Korin, stood at the opposite end of the room. The Taldari were tall, slender beings with elongated features and skin that shimmered with a faint metallic sheen. "Admiral Harris, thank you for joining us." Kumari greeted him. "This is Ambassador Korin." "Ambassador, it's an honor," Harris said, extending his hand. "The honor is ours, Admiral," Korin replied, shaking his hand with a firm grip. "Your victory against the Crone has not gone unnoticed. We believe an alliance between our peoples could be mutually beneficial." "Indeed," Kumari interjected, "we faced the Crone's aggression, and it's clear we need to stand together against common threats. What are your terms, Ambassador?" Korin's eyes glinted with interest. We seek a technological exchange and a mutual defense pact. In return, we offer our advanced shield technology and access to our strategic intelligence networks." Harris leaned forward. "What kind of intelligence are we talking about?" Corin activated a holographic display, projecting detailed schematics and star maps. "We've been monitoring the Crone movements for decades. We've identified their supply routes, outposts, and key installations. With this information, we can strike at their heart." The room fell silent as the officials digested the information. Harris knew the value of such intelligence. "And in return, what do you expect from us?" "Your ingenuity and resilience are unmatched," Corin replied. "We need your tactical expertise and your shipbuilding capabilities. Together, we can create a fleet capable of taking the fight to the Crone." Kumari exchanged glances with her advisors before turning back to Corin. "You have a deal, Ambassador. Together, we will stand stronger." The weeks that followed were a flurry of activity. Human and Taldari engineers and scientists worked side by side, integrating their technologies and refining their strategies. New ships were constructed, equipped with Taldari shields and human weapons, creating a formidable fleet. Admiral Harris oversaw the joint exercises, ensuring that both human and Taldari crews could operate seamlessly together. The bond between the two species grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, as Harris reviewed the latest tactical reports, Commander Lewis approached him. "Admiral, we've detected unusual activity near the Crone border. Multiple energy signatures, consistent with large-scale mobilizations." Harris's brow furrowed. "They're preparing for another assault. Inform President Kumari and Ambassador Corin. We need to be ready." As the alarms echoed through the corridors, the newly forged alliance sprang into action. Ships were prepped for combat, and defensive positions were fortified. Harris knew the coming battle would be unlike any they had faced before. The crucible of war. The human Taldari fleet stood poised at the edge of the Crone territory. Admiral Harris, aboard the Dominion, surveyed the tactical display. The combined fleet was an impressive sight, a testament to their hard work and cooperation. "Admiral, we've received word from our scouts," Commander Lewis reported. "The Crone fleet is on the move. Estimated time of arrival, 30 minutes. Signal the fleet to assume battle formation," Harris ordered. "It's time to show the Crone what we're made of." The fleet shifted into position, forming a defensive line. Taldari ships, with their advanced shields, took the front, while human vessels, bristling with weaponry, positioned themselves to deliver devastating volleys. As the minutes ticked by, the tension on the bridge was palpable. Finally, the Crone fleet emerged from hyperspace, their massive warships casting dark shadows across the stars. "Open a channel to the fleet," Harris commanded. When the channel was open, he spoke with steely determination. "This is Admiral Harris. Today, we fight not just for survival, but for the future of our species. We stand united against tyranny and oppression. Let us show the Crone the strength of our resolve." A chorus of acknowledgments echoed through the channel. Harris turned his gaze back to the viewport. "All ships engage at will." The battle erupted in a maelstrom of energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile salvos. The Taldari shields absorbed the brunt of the Crone attack, while human weapons tore through enemy hulls. Explosions lit up the void as ships from both sides were destroyed. Despite their initial success, the Crone fought back with relentless ferocity. Their ships, larger and heavily armed, pressed the attack, trying to break the human Taldari line. Harris knew they needed to hold their ground. "Target their flagships and carriers," he ordered. "Cut off their command and control." The Dominion's main batteries focused fire on a massive Crone battleship, its shields flaring and collapsing under the sustained barrage. The ship erupted in a ball of fire, its wreckage drifting into the void. As the battle raged on, Harris received a transmission from the Taldari flagship. "Admiral, we've detected a high-energy buildup in the Crone fleet. They're preparing a superweapon." Harris's eyes widened. "Where?" A schematic appeared on his display, highlighting a massive Krone dreadnought. That ship, it's charging its main cannon. If it fires, it could devastate our fleet. Commander Lewis, divert all available power to weapons. Target the dreadnought and fire everything we've got. The Dominion shuddered as it unleashed a torrent of railgun slugs, plasma bolts, and missile strikes. The combined firepower of the human Tal'Dari fleet converged on the dreadnought, its shields buckling under the assault. "Come on," Harris muttered, his knuckles white, as he gripped the console. With a final, deafening explosion, the Krone dreadnought disintegrated, its superweapon neutralized. Cheers erupted across the fleet as the tide of battle turned in their favor. "Admiral, the Krone are retreating," Lewis reported. "We've done it." Harris allowed himself a brief moment of relief. "Pursue and harry them, but don't overextend. We've won the day, but the war is far from over." Echoes of resistance. Admiral Harris stood on the bridge of the Dominion, looking out at the stars with a sense of determination and anticipation. The Krone had been pushed back, but he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy held many secrets and dangers, and the human Tal'Dari alliance needed to remain vigilant. "Admiral, we've received a transmission from one of our deep space probes," Commander Lewis reported. "It's detected an unusual energy signature on the outskirts of the Helios Nebula." "Let's see it," Harris replied. The main screen flickered to life, showing a swirling mass of gas and dust. At its heart, a pulsing light emitted a steady rhythm, unlike anything they had encountered before. "What do you make of it?" Harris asked, turning to the Dominion's chief science officer, Dr. Elena Martinez. Martinez studied the data for a moment before responding. "It's unlike any known natural phenomenon. It could be an artificial construct or some form of energy manipulation. Whatever it is, it's worth investigating." Harris nodded. "Agreed. Plot a course for the Helios Nebula. I want to know what we're dealing with." As the Dominion approached the nebula, the crew prepared for the unknown. The ship's sensors were calibrated to penetrate the dense gas and dust, and the weapons systems were on high alert. "Entering the Helios Nebula now," Lewis announced. The ship was enveloped in a swirling vortex of colors as it pushed deeper into the nebula. The pulsing light grew stronger, its rhythm more pronounced. "Admiral, we're picking up a structure ahead," Martinez said. "It's massive and appears to be of unknown origin." The main screen zoomed in on the structure. It was a colossal space station, its design sleek and alien. Energy flowed through its conduits, and ships of unfamiliar design moved around it. "Open a channel," Harris ordered. After a moment of static, a voice responded. "This is Admiral Harris of the Earth Alliance. Identify yourselves." The screen shifted to show a tall, imposing figure with sharp, angular features. "I am High Commander Virek of the Silveri Coalition. You are trespassing in our territory." Harris exchanged a glance with Lewis. The Silveri were a species only spoken of in legends, their advanced technology and isolationist tendencies making them a mystery. "We mean no harm, High Commander," Harris said diplomatically. "We detected an unusual energy signature and came to investigate. We didn't realize this area was claimed." Virek's eyes narrowed. "The Helios Nebula is of great significance to us. State your intentions clearly." Harris took a deep breath. "We seek knowledge and potential allies. The galaxy is facing threats that could affect us all, and we believe cooperation is the key to overcoming them." Virek studied Harris for a long moment before responding. "Very well, Admiral Harris. You may approach. But know this, any sign of aggression will be met with swift retribution." The communication ended, and the Dominion moved closer to the Silveri station. As they docked, Harris prepared to meet with Virek, hoping to forge a new alliance in the face of the growing threat. Inside the Silveri station, the architecture was both elegant and intimidating, with sharp angles and shimmering surfaces. Harris, accompanied by Lewis and Martinez, was led to a grand chamber where High Commander Virek awaited them. "Welcome, Admiral Harris," Virek said, his tone more measured. "We have monitored the struggles of your people and the Tal'Dari. Your victory against the Crone was impressive." "Thank you, High Commander," Harris replied. "We believe that by working together, we can ensure a brighter future for all our species." Virek nodded. "The Silveri Coalition values strength and unity. Perhaps there is potential in an alliance. But first, we must understand the extent of the threat you speak of." Martinez stepped forward, presenting detailed data on the Crone and their expansionist policies. The Crone are relentless. They seek to dominate and assimilate all they encounter. Our combined forces have managed to hold them at bay. But we need more allies if we're to secure lasting peace. Virek studied the data intently. "Your information is thorough. The Crone are indeed a menace. We have encountered their scouts at the fringes of our territory. An alliance could be mutually beneficial." Harris felt a glimmer of hope. "What would you require from us, High Commander?" "The Silveri have advanced technology, but our numbers are limited. We require raw materials and logistical support. In return, we offer our knowledge and our fleet," Virek stated. Harris considered the offer. "We can provide what you need. Together, we can create a united front against the Crone and any other threats that may arise." Virek extended his hand. "Then it is settled. We will stand together." As they shook hands, Harris knew this was a significant step forward. The alliance with the Silveri would bolster their strength and bring them closer to achieving a lasting peace in the galaxy. Gathering storm. The days that followed were filled with preparations and strategic planning. The Silveri shared their advanced technology, enhancing the capabilities of the human Tal'Dari fleet. In turn, the Earth Alliance provided the resources and support needed to strengthen the Silveri's defenses. Back on Earth, President Kumari addressed the gathered leaders of the Alliance. "With the Silveri joining our cause, we are stronger than ever. But we must remain vigilant. The Crone will not rest, and there are other threats lurking in the shadows." Admiral Harris stood by her side, nodding in agreement. "We have made great strides, but the road ahead is long. Our unity is our greatest weapon. We must continue to build our strength and forge new alliances." As the meeting concluded, Harris received an urgent message from Commander Lewis. "Admiral, we've intercepted a Crone transmission. It's heavily encrypted, but it appears to be a call to arms." Harris's expression hardened. "Decode it. I want to know what they're planning." Hours later, the message was decrypted. The Crone were mobilizing a massive fleet, far larger than anything seen before. Their target was the heart of the Alliance, Earth. "We need to prepare for the worst," Harris said grimly. "Alert all fleets. We must defend Earth at all costs." The Allied fleets converged on Earth, their ships forming a formidable defensive grid around the planet. Tensions ran high as they awaited the inevitable arrival of the Crone armée. As the hours ticked by, the sky above Earth filled with the silhouettes of warships from across the galaxy. The human Tal'Dari Silveri Alliance stood ready, their weapons primed and their shields at full strength. "Admiral, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace," Commander Lewis reported. "It's the Crone." The main screen displayed the Crone fleet, an imposing array of warships advancing with relentless precision. "Open a channel," Harris ordered. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Lord Kragan, the Crone warlord they had faced before. "Admiral Harris," Kragan sneered, "I see you've gathered quite the coalition. But it won't be enough. Earth will fall, and your alliance will crumble." "Not today, Kragan," Harris replied firmly. "We stand united, and we will not let you destroy what we've built." Kragan's eyes narrowed. "So be it. Prepare to be annihilated." The screen went dark, and the battle began. The void between the fleets erupted in a storm of energy beams, plasma bolts, and missiles. The Allied ships fought with unwavering determination, their combined might pushing back against the Crone onslaught. Amidst the chaos, Harris coordinated the defense, directing forces to critical points and launching counterattacks with precision. The Silveri's advanced technology proved invaluable, their ships holding the line with their powerful shields and devastating weapons. "Admiral, we've identified their command ship," Martins reported. "It's heavily guarded, but if we can take it out, it could turn the tide." Harris nodded. "All units, focus fire on the Crone command ship. We need to cut off the head of the snake." The Dominion led the charge, its weapons blazing as it carved a path through the Crone defenses. The Allied fleet followed, their combined firepower hammering the enemy command ship. "Shields are failing," Lewis shouted over the din of battle. "Keep pushing," Harris ordered. "We're almost there." With a final, concentrated assault, the Crone command ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The Crone fleet faltered, their formations breaking as they lost their leader. "They're retreating," Lewis announced. "We've done it." Cheers erupted across the fleet as the Crone ships flooded into the depths of space. The battle was won, but the cost had been high. Ships lay wrecked and damaged, and many lives had been lost. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth began the process of rebuilding. The victory had come at a great price, but it had also solidified the bonds between the allied species. Humanity, the Taldari, and the Silveri had stood together and prevailed. President Kumari addressed the weary but triumphant crowd. "Today, we have proven that unity is our greatest strength. We have faced the darkness and emerged victorious. But we must remain vigilant. The Crone may return, and other threats may arise. Together, we will face them. Together, we will prevail." Admiral Harris stood with the leaders of the Alliance, his heart filled with a sense of purpose. The battle had been fierce, but it had also shown the power of cooperation and resilience. As the stars glittered in the night sky, Harris knew the journey was far from over. But with allies by their side and the spirit of unity guiding them, humanity's future was brighter than ever. The echoes of their resistance would resonate through the galaxy, a testament to their strength and determination. The silent Talon had been met with a resounding roar, and that roar would continue to echo for generations to come.